Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas. And today is April 5th, 2025 at 11:57 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Two pieces for you today, the first of which is going to be the one that the article that the episode is named after, which is that the Democrats are dying. I like the title. It's why I picked it to read first. And the second piece will be Erik Carlson. Has everybody lost their minds? I want to remind everybody here that you can get an extra 15% off the amazing Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter, which we are going to be pausing sales of, or at least pausing shipment of over the summer because it gets so freaking hot. And then the cost of keeping it temperature cool is just, it's not worth it. So we stopped during the summer. So now's your chance, guys. Get the Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter, limited supplies, which we will stop shipping at the end of April or possibly the end of May. One of the two. We'll see how hot it is. But guys, extra 15% off. And then another 10% off for promo code Shapiro. So 25% Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter only at tulipblooms.shop. Tulipblooms.shop, promo code Shapiro. Limited time, 25% off. And now, without further ado, from briancates.substack.com. Like a vampire dying in the sunlight, the Democrat Party is disintegrating before our eyes, and that's a beautiful thing. By Brian Cates. Robbie Starbuck on Twitter. DNC Chair Ken Martin announces that Democrats are forming a shadow government to oppose Trump. This isn't just antithetical to U.S. values. It also shows that they don't respect democracy, and it could actually be illegal. Current DNC Chair Ken Martin put out a video where he boasts the Democrat Party is launching what he calls the People's Cabinet, which will be in direct opposition to Trump's Senate-approved cabinet. This is a PR stunt to try to stop the bleeding, nothing more. Let me explain why. The Democrat Party is collapsing before our eyes. A dying wing of the uniparty that is being exposed and cornered has limited options. Even the fake news pollsters who spent the entire second half of the 2024 election cycle pretending Harris was running competitively with Trump are having to admit the public has turned on this corrupt party. It now sits around 20% approval rating and dropping. If current trends continue, the D Party will be the first major U.S. political party to poll under 20% approval in modern times. Martin has an incredibly tough job here. He's trying to reverse what is, in fact, a failure cascade, a collapse, if you will. A massive number of big lies collapsed on the Uniparty in the last year, and the Democrat Party enthusiastically went all in on many of those lies to a far greater extent than the GOP Uniparty wing did, and thus has borne the brunt of the public's ire. Beginning in late June of last year, the Biden's fine big lie collapsed in full public view, beginning at the debate between the cognitively challenged Biden and Donald Trump.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Then came a major piece of investigative journalism in New York Magazine by independent reporter Olivia Nuzzi that described the conspiracy of silence that had formed to deliberately gaslight the public for more than 3.5 years. On Twitter, Olivia Nuzzi. In January, I began hearing similar stories from Democratic officials, Democrats, activists, and donors who came away from interactions with Joe Biden disturbed by what they had seen. For NY Mag, I wrote about the conspiracy of silence to protect the president. Since the Trump 2.0 administration took power in late January, a stunning series of revelations by the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, head Elon Musk and his team about how the voters' tax money is actually spent has caused a growing panic in Washington, D.C. After a few futile weeks of attempting to stop these revelations of massive levels of government fraud and abuse by using fake news hit pieces to get the public to turn on Trump and Musk. The Democrats have quickly resorted to literally encourage acts of domestic terrorism by sicking their paid rent-a-mobs on Tesla owners and dealerships. Natalie Winters on X, Representative Pramila Jayapal calls on Tesla Trump protesters to be strike-ready and street-ready. And with months to formulate a response to the public's growing approval of the Trump agenda while actively rejecting the Democrats' woke agenda, this is what Martin has come up with: a people's cabinet. A shadow cabinet with no authority to do anything isn't much of a threat. Trump's cabinet has all the power. Trump spent 8 years preparing for what is unfolding now. His scouting and reconnaissance from 2015 to 2024 is paying off. That's not a whole lot of guesswork involved at this point. We already knew there were still uniparty embeds in the federal agencies, less than there were 2 months ago, true, but still some left at this point. They are circling the wagons and trying to come up with a strategy that allows them to survive. Understandable that some people still ascribe powers beyond the ken of mortal man to these uniparty bureaucrats, but they never had such powers. And their one advantage was being able to do the stuff they were doing in secret. They've lost that advantage. I mean, what the fuck is this guy doing openly talking about his supposedly awesome secret shadow government they are right now hastily forming on camera? How secret is it now if you're babbling about it on video? Trump, Elon, and Doge already got inside their wire. They're already inside the enemy base. The power, influence, and stolen treasury money these people enjoyed is draining away. It's not growing, it's decreasing. But a lot of people are going to be claiming the deep state powers are growing and that they are successfully thwarting the Trump agenda. They still run everything. Why? Well, because a lot of people are mentally wired still to think of Trump, MAGA, Maha, America First as the powerless losers who are on the outside looking in, who can't change anything. They're stuck in a mental doom loop. Even after everything they've seen over the past 2.5 months, they still expect the sequel to be The Empire Strikes Back, premiering any day now. They mistake a panicking and desperate enemy that is losing resources and cover for their illegal operations for effective resistance that is about to destroy the Trump agenda. You are watching the destruction of the old guard. Nothing can stop what is happening. This guy is babbling what he's babbling because even as this Democrat wing of the uniparty collapses, he has to put on a brave face and rally the troops. He's got to find a way to keep the donations coming in. I don't mean USAID money either. I mean real donations from real private citizens. That kind of donations are very, very low right now. And that's a beautiful thing. Quick hits. Trump tariffs, Trump gold card. They didn't think he'd really do it. Hell, right now, a lot of Trump's doubters and enemies are telling themselves that gold card President Donald J. Trump was showing off on Air Force One the other day is 100% fake and it will never be real. In fact, Howard Lutnick has been saying that they've already pre-sold over $5 billion worth of these gold card visas to prospective new American citizens in one day. Remember when D.C. swamp denizens shrieked in high holy horror at Trump's request for $3 billion for the border wall a couple of years before they enthusiastically loaned $100 billion plus for Ukraine's defense? With tariffs and this gold card program, Trump is demonstrating that the United States will be able to pay for its federal government just fine once he and Elon are done cutting it down to a manageable size. How to avoid the new Trump tariffs on foreign goods. Hey, everybody. I have a workable solution to avoid the tariffs on foreign-produced products sold in America. Here it is. Buy American. On Rand Paul's noble and courageous stand to stop Trump's tariffs. You know what Rand Paul spent the last 5 years doing? Claiming the 2020 election wasn't stolen, voting to certify the stolen 2020 election, saying almost nothing about America's corrupt county election systems, not lifting a finger to stop the offshoring of American jobs and closing the factories, not being MAGA or America First, but constantly talking what I call Con Inc. media doublespeak to conservative GOP. So if you're surprised that he's 100% against Trump leveling the playing field with reciprocal tariffs in the very unfair and very undeclared trade war we've been in with other countries for decades, then you haven't been paying attention. He's exactly like Thomas Massie in this regard. He's going to stand directly in front of Trump's MAGA, Maha, America First agenda and strike a most noble and courageous pose as he dramatically yells, raises his hand and yells, "Stop!" while expecting applause and acclaim to be lavished upon him for his most principled stand. Somehow, I don't think this is going to go the way he expects it to. All right, look at that. Hey guys, if you want to support Brian Cates, go to briancates.substack.com, do a paid subscription, or you can go to tulipblooms.shop and use promo code Cates, or you could go to epicminerals.net and use promo code Cates. Get your Zeolite Extra Spray. That's right. Do it today. That's briancates.substack.com. Next, we have Erik Carlson from badlands.substack.com. Has everyone completely lost their minds on both sides of the aisle? By Erik Carlson. As I write this, the S&P 500 is down 1.5% in 2025, and people are bemoaning the crashing of the stock market and the crumbling of the economy. People on both sides of the aisle. Consumer confidence is at a 12-year low, all despite inflation being at a 4-year low, gas prices falling to $3 and $4 trillion already committed. Gas prices falling and $3 to $4 trillion already committed to manufacturing in the U.S. in the first 2 months of Trump being on the job. But in some people's eyes, there is no way of the U.S. avoiding a massive recession and a sentiment that tariffs will make the cost of everything go up 100%. Even though inflation is actually falling. Trump is dismantling the public school system. Teachers will be fired and students will no longer have access to an education. National parks are being closed. Elon Musk is stealing everyone's personal information. This sentiment believed to the point where Tesla cars are being keyed and set ablaze to fight back against this perceived tyranny. It would be one thing if it was just the mentally unstable vandalizing Tesla cars, charging stations and dealerships, but it's not. Musk said that half of the people being caught vandalizing Tesla are either trans or non-binary. Sadly, this probably isn't that surprising to most of us. It is obvious that many people vandalizing cars aren't playing with a full deck, but what about the rest? They aren't all trans. And I believe for every person vandalizing a car, there are probably 100 who would do it if they thought they could get away with it. And these people aren't purple-haired, septum nose ring wearing progressive foot soldiers. Some of them are barely left of center. Many of the people freaking out about the stock market, the economy, and Elon's perceived free pass to do whatever he wants are moderate liberals. Some are barely left of center. Some even voted for Trump in 2024. If one cocoons himself, either isolating himself from other human beings or insulating himself in his conservative echo chamber, he likely isn't aware of how bad things have become, how genuinely afraid and upset the moderate left have become. I am obviously not justifying the moderate left's concerns or actions. I'm simply pointing out that many really are concerned. The media have done a number on them in recent times. While Trump, Musk, and the crew are dismantling the deep state, much of the country is petrified. While a considerable portion of the country believes America is being destroyed by the changes, many on the other side don't believe Trump is doing enough, and he isn't doing it fast enough. They believe his promises aren't being kept. They can't understand why everyone in the Democratic Party hasn't been arrested by now. What is Trump waiting for? Where are the mass arrests? The far left, the moderate left, and some on the right all believe Trump is doing a horrible job. He's doing too much. He isn't doing enough. The man can do no right in their eyes. If Trump doesn't operate exactly the way they feel he should, then it's all a complete failure. I wish it was just the extremists who are behaving this way, but it's not. It seems as if everyone believes he knows better than Trump how to fix the country. America is $36 trillion in debt, but some believe no programs should be cut, that cutting any program is a travesty, that if a person working from their home in the D.C. area is let go from their $250,000 a year job within the Department of Education, children will no longer be taught to read. Forget the fact that the U.S. education system has taken a nosedive since the Department of Education was created in 1980. There is a direct correlation to its creation and American children's testing scores dropping, and forget the fact that $250,000 has been freed up to pay actual teachers to teach kids. We are being told Wall Street is concerned about the tariffs, while the Fed and others are concerned about how the tariffs will impact inflation. 25% tariffs on automobiles built overseas. Does anyone feel that a gun will be pointed to your head, forcing you to buy a car built overseas in the next year if foreign cars cost more than buy a car built in America? Wow, that was a really hard problem to solve. There are plenty of cars built in America, and if you want a foreign car so badly, wait until that foreign car company signs an agreement to produce their car in the United States. Again, wow, I just got rid of inflation. All these countries have to do is agree to build cars in America. We won't even have to wait for the cars to be produced here. Just sign the agreement and the tariffs disappear. The media and left would have you believe these are unsolvable problems. I wish it was just the far left that seems to have completely lost their minds, but it's not. Q says 4 to 6 will be lost forever. Essentially, the implication is that so much damage has been done to them through conditioning, propaganda, toxins, drugs, and abuse that their brains will never function properly again. The wires in their heads are all crossed up. While the majority of Americans seem to be coming around, we can't function as a society if 10, 20, or 30% of Americans flip out every time the mainstream media tells them that the sky is falling. I have literally been 100% spot on about every movement up or down in the stock market for the past 7 years, predicting when it would fall and how quickly it would recover. Frankly, it's been kind of weird. But in the past few weeks, I've had people tell me the economy is imploding before our eyes. This with the stock market barely being down more than 1% in 2025, a little more than 1% off an all-time high. After explaining my record and reasons for confidence in the economy, some say, yeah, well, you're wrong this time. Again, we are talking about people who are just left of center, not guilt-stricken boomers still supporting BLM or Gen Z kids protesting for Hamas. This is a point that I think is important to make. The left are, again, uniting in their hatred for Trump and Elon, understanding that 81% of Americans support what Doge is doing. You can get a false sense of security. 81% is a lot. But what are 19% of 330 million people? It's almost 63 million people. America can't swim with such a heavy ball and chain attached to its ankle. After October 7th, the left became divided and fractured, with some supporting Israel, some supporting Palestine, some believing any action the Israeli government takes is justified, and vice versa. 63 million people are now coming together again, setting aside their differences to attack Trump and his administration. The subject of Israel has fractured the right as well. Some believe that the state of Israel represents God's chosen people, and they support them in everything that they do. Others believe all Jews are evil and must be wiped off the face of the earth. There is nothing in between for these people. It's all or nothing on either side. If you don't support Hamas, Zionist. If you don't support Israel, bombing Palestine, radical Islamist. While one side thinks Trump is a Zionist, the other side thinks he isn't supporting Israel enough. He can do no right in their eyes. What is the Kobayashi Maru simulated scenario in Star Trek? The silver squeeze. Get in before it's too late. For years, the elites have rigged silver markets, keeping prices suppressed while hoarding the real thing. Now, the system is cracking. Supply is vanishing. The U.S. Mint can't source enough metal, and banks are scrambling to cover their shorts. Silver isn't just a commodity. It's the most undervalued hard asset with soaring industrial and investment demand. When the suppression breaks, prices won't just rise, they'll explode, but only for those holding physical silver. If you're still in paper silver, you could be left with nothing. Act now. Go to www.patricklikesgold.com and secure your silver before the panic hits. The only winning move is not to play. Remember this. MAGA, conservatives, constitutionalists, whatever you want to call them, many seem to believe they have a better understanding of how to take down the deep state and bring about justice. Mass arrests on day one. Anything less is a failure and a promise not kept. Epstein files released on day one. Epstein arrests on day two. No concern for the victims or false accusations. Just release the files and let the rational and mentally unstable people do with the information what they will. As it is, Trump has taken a different approach, which is irritating to those who are convinced from their couch, scrolling through their X feed while watching Fox News, that they know better. Trump has chosen the rational, mature, and strategic approach. Take out the deep state funding first, like USAID, then expose and go after the corrupt judges and judicial system. Once the system has been cleaned out, justice can prevail. At this point, the Epstein files can be released and the arrests can be made. We've all seen how Trump was dealt with in a corrupt judicial system. Why would you go to the well to fetch water with a bucket that has holes in it? First, plug the holes or get a new bucket. You must first fix the judicial system. What Trump is doing is the equivalent of an army cutting off the supply routes, not allowing their enemy to get food, fuel, or more ammunition. Once the enemy has become depleted, then you attack. This approach requires patience and discipline, something many on the right lack to an alarming degree. Some are calling for the firing of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel because they aren't working within their timeline. Consider the fact that they may know what they're doing, and you may not be as smart or informed as you think you are. What about Maha, led by RFK Jr.? Is it true that both Trump and RFK Jr. said they would do certain things on day one in office? RFK Jr. said he would get rid of fluoride from the drinking water on his first day in office. Has he? I take it there is more to the process than simply flipping a switch. I assume a process must occur in a particular order that won't cause a significant portion of Americans to believe the changes will result in their sudden deaths. Some on the right, who believe they know what is best for humanity, have decided that the first thing Trump and RFK Jr. should have done once in power was to eliminate vaccines altogether, not just make them optional, but eliminate them altogether. Don't get me wrong. I believe that in most cases, vaccines are a scam and that some are dangerous. I believe there's a direct link to some vaccines and autism. But does that mean that eliminating them altogether on the first day in office is the right approach? If vaccines were eliminated on day one, a significant number of people, not just the crazies who wear a mask while driving alone, would go into full panic mode. With a little prodding by mainstream media, half the country would believe that all of the medicine and pills they deem as necessary to their survival and longevity will be taken away from them by the new tyrants in power. What approach has Maha taken? They're going after big pharma advertising on broadcast TV. Currently, 70 to 75% of advertising revenue on broadcast TV comes from big pharma. Why does big pharma even run ads on TV? We aren't their customers. Our doctors are their customers. The doctors are the decision makers who determine who gets what drugs by controlling the media through advertising. Big Pharma controls the media's voice. The media can't speak up against them and risk losing 75% of their revenue. Removing Big Pharma ads from TV does two things. First, it frees honest journalists to now speak up against Big Pharma and the medical industry, and it removes funding from fake news propagandists, kind of like the approach Trump and Musk took by first eliminating USAID. We must first cut off the supplies that feed and fuel the deep state propaganda machine. Maha is trying to make it so people can't use SNAP food stamps to buy sugary soda. How can anyone justify using SNAP for the purchase of Coke or Pepsi unless Coke or Pepsi are paying them to say banning its use is an infringement on SNAP users' rights? No one could honestly believe that taxpayer money should be used to buy people soda. If they're thirsty, they can drink water. I assume this will eventually extend to junk food in general. SNAP should only be used to purchase necessities and food that has some kind of nutritional value. Eventually, everyone will likely come to this conclusion. If you want to buy Pepsi and Doritos, buy it with your own money. It seems like a fair conclusion to come to. While some in MAGA think the main priority should be to eliminate vaccines, Maha seems to think that you can do that without creating massive amounts of fear and chaos. Start by eliminating Big Pharma commercials, then remove the legal and narrative protection that Big Pharma has against vaccine injuries, and all of a sudden the problem starts to take care of itself again. It requires a little patience and discipline. Eventually, you won't need to ban vaccines because no one will want to take them. What do people think has a greater negative impact on American health? Would you say vaccines or junk food? 74% of Americans are considered overweight, 42% are obese. 9 out of 10 people with type 2 diabetes are overweight. 80% of Americans with heart disease are overweight. This applies to other conditions as well, such as strokes and cancer. I don't mean to minimize the negative impact of vaccines, but how often do people get vaccine injuries? Is it 1% of the time, 0.1% of the time, 0.01% of the time? I honestly don't know. One would argue that infant vaccines have contributed to autism at a rate of 1 in 32, which would be about 3% of the time. But it seems to me that the priority with Maha should be to clean up the food industry first, and that seems to be exactly what they are doing. Understand that their priorities and yours might not match up perfectly. We've all heard the expression, follow the money. What Trump, Musk, and RFK Jr. are doing is going after the money. By going after the money, they are not only shutting off the money supply, but they are also finding out who is really implicated in the crimes, not just the figureheads, the people many wanted locked up on day one. I have to admit I'm pretty disconnected from mainstream media, intentionally. Occasionally, I have to endure someone with TDS. I recently watched a Netflix talk show with Trump-hating guests Michael Keaton and folk singer Joan Baez. She stated that Elon and Trump were attacking democracy, to which everyone on the panel in the audience applauded. Some may remember that Joan Baez insisted that Spotify remove her catalog because Joe Rogan took ivermectin. Following episode, a 60-plus-year-old punk rock singer from the 1980s performed on the talk show wearing a shirt that said, "The Gulf of Mexico, how punk rock." These people are so pathetic, I don't know whether to laugh at them or be upset with them. What a bold statement of protest. Gulf of Mexico, lol. Seriously, I can't stop laughing at her pretension. Like she's bravely making a difference by wearing the shirt. She knows full well that no one from MAGA is going to vandalize her car or assault her. Why? Because, generally speaking, MAGA aren't crazy, violent fascists. When I first saw that 70% of Americans approved of Trump's State of the Union address in early March, and soon after that 81% of Americans approved of what Doge was doing, I thought the battle was over, that the propaganda machine has run out of gas. But just a week or two later, I was receiving calls and emails from clients concerned the stock market is crashing and insisting we are headed straight into a massive recession, that the country is falling apart, the sky is falling. In just a week after Trump's speech, the rhetoric all changed. The liberals who were lying dormant since the election came out swinging. Trump is going to kill Social Security. Trump is getting rid of Medicaid and Medicare. Trump is destroying the economy. Trump is going to expel any non-white person in the country. Elon has access to my personal information. RFK Jr. is going to take away my medicine and drugs. All it took was a little drop in the stock market to send these people into panic mode, as it was the proof they needed. I had no idea that mainstream media had put forth such an effective attack. With major change, people are always a little on edge, and it seems their natural concerns were exploited by the media. I believe some who voted for Trump just a few months ago are a party to these doomsayers. Who is awake? Is it someone who rolls over in bed and looks at their alarm clock to see what time it is, or is it someone who is sitting down to a cup of coffee fully dressed and scrolling through their phone? While up to 80% of America may appear to be awake, I believe half of them are completely vulnerable right now, still half asleep. Any change in the tide can cause them to jump ship, as we are now seeing. The Trump administration had a choice to make. Do they hit the ground running with a full frontal onslaught, or do they take their time and warm people up to the changes? I think it's clear that they went straight into attack mode on the funding of the deep state. With this last round of attacks by the media, a last-ditch effort to create chaos and preying on fear has occurred very effectively. With the deep state's supplies and ammunition being used up, and as the moderate left and right come back off the 10-story ledge, it's time for the real work to be done. The real work, which requires patience and restraint, the unglamorous process of taking America back. What have we learned in the past few weeks? We've learned that many who appear to be on board with the movement aren't really very comfortable. They are a bit jumpy. Many of the Americans who have reluctantly climbed aboard the Trump train are more than willing to jump off at any signs of danger ahead. I personally had no idea how bad it was. I had no idea people were so afraid. I had no idea mainstream media still had such a grip on them. I believed that because a majority of Americans seemed to be on board, that the fight was all but over. I didn't understand how shaky the ground was upon which they stood. I've been saying this for a while now, but be careful who you trust. Many who appear to be truther influencers are in fact paid shills, paid to support the Trump administration until it is time to turn on the Trump administration. I've previously singled out Ian Carroll. I don't trust Candace Owens either. Owens' husband is British, Oxford educated. Owens attacks Israel for good reason. But have you ever heard her attack the people who actually run and control Israel, the City of London? It seems to me that blaming Israel for everything sure takes the heat off of the City of London. And lately, both Carroll and Owens have been attacking RFK Jr. It has been said by some that the City of London runs the American pharmaceutical industry. While many Americans have quickly turned into doomsayers again, it doesn't mean these are bad people and don't want what is good for America and Americans. It just means they have some major trust issues, and honestly, who could blame them? Doge has been like a litmus test to America, a test to determine acidity or alkalinity. Many Americans have been shown they are still very acidic. Trust will come with time. We must be patient and have understanding that not everyone's roots extend deep into the ground. Not everyone's roots are deep enough to allow them to withstand a strong wind. What was it that Q Plus said about a storm coming? I'd say it has already arrived. What's that in the sky? I bet it's familiar to you. Oh, yes, it's just a long, white trail. It's a plane. And what's coming out of it? Contrails, simple condensation. That's totally normal, they tell us. And now we look closer. We have the ability to use Zoom cameras that live stream at the same time. What is that? That's not contrails. Oh no. That's poison. Poison being dumped into your lungs. Protect yourself. Zeolite Extra Spray with humic and fulvic acid from epicminerals.net. Promo code Shapiro. That's our show for today. Make sure to support what I do here. Go to tulipblooms.shop, promo code Shapiro. Don't forget, 25% off on Epic Moisture Creamy Body Butter, unscented only. And then don't forget to go to epicminerals.net, promo code Shapiro. Tulipblooms.shop, epicminerals.net, both of them perfect for you. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. I do this show, of course, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. That's right. And then Thursdays, we're really going to buckle down and get Crypto Curious out, planned, ready to go. More focused on education rather than just arguing. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.